Bryan Colter here, Evolutionary Astrologer, for another horoscope report for the upcoming Aries full moon. Before we get to that though, just a quick announcement. Next month I'll be doing my Introduction to Evolutionary Astrology 10-hour course. It's not available for sale on my website yet. It will be in a few days, but I'm just announcing it now. In case you'd like to attend live, you can put it down on your calendar ahead of time. It will be on October 28th and 29th at 8 a.m. Pacific time, both days, 5 hours each day. And you can keep checking back on my website. It'll be available soon. And if not, I'll announce it on the next YouTube video. You can find the link then. I love teaching this stuff, and I hope to see you there. With that being said, let's go ahead and take a look at what's going on in the sky. So as you can see, we have this beautiful Aries full moon here, and a lot of Aries actually, North Node, Aries, Chiron, all in this sign along with the moon. So Aries is going to be very important here, obviously. And this is a passionate moon. This is a fiery moon. This is a warm moon. This is an assertive, maybe even aggressive moon. Now, moon itself represents heart and soul and emotions. Now, with these videos here, I'm generalizing to a wide audience, so we're going to be focusing some on how these energies affect the collective, but then also how we can work with it on a more personal level to accelerate our growth. Now, moon representing heart, when it's at full, the hearts, the emotions, the subjective reality of the collective tend to be at least above average, more reactive, more dramatic energetically. So people tend to be more impulsive, a little bit, moon's known as a luna, and it's connected to the word lunatic, so a little bit more emotionally lunatic, because they can feel more passionately, more strong, especially when it's in the fire sign of Aries. Now, there's nothing wrong with passionate emotions, that's part of the human experience, but of course that can get us into trouble as well. Ideally, we want to leverage this passion towards the more, let's say, virtuous or higher octave expressions of these symbols and aim them in the right direction, not only to help ourselves in our journey, but to help others as well, instead of falling into the pitfalls of the passionate heart, which can get, especially in the case of Aries, is more susceptible to anger, rage, bitterness, sometimes even fear as well. There's always a spectrum of possibilities here. A good evolutionary astrology question to ask yourself during the 3 or 4 days of this full moon phase when it's in Aries is, okay, let's connect to my moon, which is to say my heart, and where are my passions leading me? And can I leverage this warrior energy to be assertive in those directions and to expand in that directions and let the instincts, the emotional motivations to drive me further in that direction, to play out that passion, to play out that fire. But then taking it a step further, okay, regarding Aries emotions, let's do a little heart check-in here. It's like, what am I afraid of? That's a beautiful warrior question, because the evolutionary intention, always working with Aries, as well as Mars actually, which we're going to have to talk a lot about here in a second, is to become more courageous and brave and to ask yourself, okay, what am I afraid of? And then go that way. And it's not always easy to go that way. So what is my heart afraid of? And do I have the temerity and strength and willpower to expand my comfort zones in that direction? You could also ask, what angers me? What angers my heart? What is my relationship to anger? And how can I have a healthy outlet for this stress, for this anger, instead of falling into the more, let's say, destructive side of anger, which is definitely quite obvious. I'll also recommend the benefit of physical exercise during a full moon in Aries, because it's important when the moon is feeling more fiery to blow out the cobwebs a little bit by getting that adrenaline pumping a little bit and following the path of adventure. And exercise is one way of getting those stress balls out of you. Now, this is a more generic way to work with moon in Aries. You can get more exacting with it if you know where the moon is traveling through your own personal chart. This is just a random chart based on where I'm living here in Portugal, so you can ignore, the moon in the 5th house here, for example. This doesn't apply to you. But if you look at your own personal chart, figure out where you have Aries in your chart, you can find where that moon is traveling through that house of your chart. And each one of these houses has layers of meaning as well. So then you can say, okay, well, I need to apply this warrior spirit to this house. Maybe it's the 9th house of travel. Maybe it's time to go on an adventurous travel. Or it's in the 5th house of creativity. Maybe it's time to face my fears, practicing vulnerability through self-expression. This is how we can really dig more deeply into the symbols and make it more nuanced to what you're going through. And if you don't know how to do that in your chart, I do have a tutorial, a 40-minute tutorial on my website. I'll put a link above. If you're interested, you could check it out. Now, besides just looking at this full moon, we want to get an understanding of what else is going on in the sky. And all eyes are looking at this Mars. That's one way of putting it. It's really the focalizer during this full moon event. Now, Mars rules Aries. So whenever you're looking at a big lunar event, you always want to consider the planet that rules that sign. So we take Mars seriously no matter what here. But the fact that it's right next to the south node is important. You also have Pluto in a square aspect to Mars and the nodes. And then you have this aspect called a yod, where Neptune and Uranus are in a beautiful sextile to each other, but they're also in conjunct to Mars across the chart. It's called a yod, or the finger of God. So the finger of God is pointing at Mars. So we got so many eggs in one Marshall basket here. And the sense is, okay, we're playing for high stakes. I mean, yeah, it's helpful to work with that full moon in Aries. But really, where the most growth potential is our deeper understanding of Mars and Libra here, how it ties into Pluto and the nodes, and it's a rather deep well. Now, since it's conjunct the south node and opposite the north node, this very much is connected to the collective, because the transiting nodes represents the karma of humanity that has ripened, that we're ready to work with now. Doesn't mean it's easy, but that karmic charge is there. And Mars is one of the granddaddy of triggering planets. So here you have the planet of triggering hitting the collective karma point, being the nodes. So the karmic wave is breaking in our lives. And really we can take this more to even extremes, because Pluto, with many schools of thought in astrology, is also said to be linked to karma, because it's the planet of woundedness. So the karmic woundedness of the collective, for example. So nodes and Pluto, both connected to karma on some level, and Mars hitting this point, the triggering planet. So the karmic wave is breaking. It's almost like God is having a little chit-chat with humanity and saying, hey, and asking a very, let's say, squeamish and martial question. Mars is the war god. And God says, humanity, do you prefer hunter or prey? It's like, ooh, that is a squeamish question. Now, with the south node, we always want to look at that sign more suspiciously, more negatively, only because that's more useful information. So the more negative or shadowy aspect of Libra can be a little bit mousy and compromising and want to avoid conflict. And then here God comes along and says, hey, do you want hunter or prey? And Libra goes, is there a vegetarian option? I mean, because Libra is not, there are exceptions, but Libra is more likely typically to avoid the conflict instead of face it head on like the war god. And God says, no, there's no veggie option. Sorry, you're a vegan or whatever. You got to choose. The time is now. Martial times are times of the victors and the vanquished. There's not much room for middle ground here. So this is a tense energy, and it's crescendoing now with all the nodes. And whatever Pluto touches in the sky, by the way, it brings out the extremes of those energies. So here, the planet of extremity, Pluto, the god of hell, is in a tension-based square to the Mars and the nodes. Now, Pluto in Capricorn has a lot of meaning, okay, and it's been in Capricorn since 2008, and it tends to bring out the extreme dark side of this, Capricorn in this case. And next year, it's going to be re-entering Aquarius, so we're preparing for Pluto's long, 2-decade stay in Aquarius. But it's wrapping up Capricorn. And I've said it on this channel many times, basically since I started this channel in 2019, because that's when the Saturn conjunct Pluto started and all these things. So it's been very much a focalizer this whole time, right now as well, where this is bringing out the dark side, the extreme dark side of, let's say, Capricorn, which is linked to capitalism, is linked to the elite. It's linked to artifacts of the past, which have now stagnated our growth. We're trying to enter into this Aquarian age in a more evolved way. So it's like law and regulation and top-down order. And Pluto brings out the extremes of these energies. And there's also a crumbling that's trying to occur. We're trying to really break that system down, or some of those more darker sides of this, the dark side of the patriarchy and things like this. And meanwhile, as Pluto's in its last battle cry and death throw of this Capricorn, it's becoming more and more obvious how much power these people wield on the planet, and they're using it and abusing it, especially now with it squaring Mars, the war god. Do you prefer hunter or prey, humanity? Well, in this case, Pluto in Capricorn, in my opinion, is more the hunter side of this. Now, Mars in Libra, it's a sign that it's not very comfortable in. It doesn't mean you can't get it right, and there's a very powerful way of working with it, but it can be pretty challenging. Because here Mars is in Venus's natural sign, Libra, right? So the passivity potential of Libra accentuated now is not going to help us. The Mars aspect, the North Node in Aries, Chiron, Aries, all in Aries, full moon in Aries. It's more about being assertive, standing up for ourselves, learning to set healthy boundaries, learning to protect the weak and defenseless, to those who are victimized, instead of turning a blind eye. More Libra style in terms of I'm going to avoid this conflict. Truth is coming to light. That's a part of Pluto and Capricorn, because it is the truth sayer, Pluto in the sign of Capricorn, the dark side of that coming to life, the dark side of power becoming more visible. There's another aspect of this, which is Neptune. Neptune's in Pisces. It entered Pisces around 2012, continued to be in Pisces through 2025. Now, this has major spiritual implications for humanity. So that's the biggest piece of this. But another piece of it is this is the mini age, if you will, of the whistleblower, as I've called it. Some of these whistleblowers, of course, some of them are deceptive, I would imagine. That's the dark side of Neptune and Pisces, deception, creating more confusion and murkiness through deception. But there's another more positive side of this, where this Neptune, which represents God consciousness in the sign of the mystic Pisces, is about unconditional love for others. That's really the highest potential for that. I love God with all my heart, and I love others as much as I love myself. This is a beautiful, saintly expression of Neptune and Pisces. So some of these whistleblowers can see the wrong with whatever system they were involved with or that they were victimized by, and they come out compassionately for others to express this information. Now, I wouldn't narrowly look at Neptune and Pisces as the mini age of the whistleblower, but when you combine it with Saturn and Pisces, the great work of cutting through the illusion of what's not real to understand what's real, and all this warrior energy. Mars in Libra is about fighting. I say, okay, hunter or prey, hunting for justice, because Libra is known as the judge archetype, or the diplomat, or the peacekeeper. But the judge archetype is fair, or tries to be. That's what it strives to be. So the planet of fairness and justice in the sign of the war god, or the planet of the war god in that sign, rather. So to seek out justice for wrongdoing is probably the most powerful way of working with this symbol now. And I would imagine, this gets more into predictive astrology, but it's worth putting on the table in this mini age of the whistleblower. Meanwhile, fighting for justice as the healthy response, avoiding passivity, whistleblowers coming out now, okay, to speak some truth. Now, when you speak truth to power, it's usually a bad end, so hence the tension of the square with Pluto and Capricorn to the nodes. And the key here is to do this from a place of love and courage instead of anger and spite and destruction. That's the delicate balance here, because one of the nastier parts of South Node in Libra, especially with Mars there, Mars is a planet that represents anger on some level. The planet of anger and the sign of passivity, this leads to resentment and contempt and that internal bitterness, okay, which can explode as rage. But as long as we come from this more courageous, brave warrior archetype, this is where we can really get it right. And Chiron here is interesting. Chiron is known as the wounded healer in the sign of the warrior. Here's the metaphor. Imagine there's a Vietnam veteran who was gravely wounded in battle, both physically and psychologically. He has PTSD. For decades, he suffers from screaming nightmares every night from the PTSD. And he has a friend of his who says, hey, there's this new thing that's having great success. It's called mushroom therapy, where the therapist guides them through a mushroom journey, or maybe ketamine therapy or whatever. And he said, okay, well, I've tried everything else. Might as well try this. And he does this version of therapy, and he has a breakthrough. No more nightmares. No more PTSD. It might be there still a little bit, but it's greatly diminished through the healing benefit of psychedelics. And through this experience, it opens his eyes to a whole other world of beauty and potential, where him and his fellow warrior brothers, he knows many of them, his comrades, and they're suffering too. And it motivates him to become the wounded healer, to dedicate himself by going back to school, getting his education, and whatever it takes to be able to facilitate those healings for others. And he ends up guiding others through mushroom journeys or whatever it is. There's a beautiful example of Chiron, the wounded healer, in the sign of the warrior. So another evolutionary question you can ask yourself is, what have I learned from my own woundedness, and how can I use that assertively, courageously to help others in my life? So obviously this is a very tense set of energies, and there's certainly a lot of pitfalls inherent with this structure. A lot of people will get it wrong. A lot of people will get it right, But it's important to develop awareness about what's going on archetypally, energetically. And you can ask yourself, okay, how can I better myself? Working directly with these energies, working with the energy instead of against it, with the goal being to expand my consciousness. And we can also work with these energies through meditation. I'm a big advocate for meditation. So now we're going to transition into the guided meditation, a meditation of warrior energy. I recommend using headphones for best results. Enjoy. Begin by focusing on your breath. And do a nice, slow inhale through your nose. And feel your belly and then your lungs expand. And then a nice, slow exhale. And focus on nothing but the breath. Now try to feel the beat of your heart. pulse of life. And now slowly move your attention down to your left foot and visualize a bright white sphere in your left foot. And on your next inhale, visualize that sphere moving up through your left ankle into your calf, relaxing and softening all the tissues in your lower leg. And see that white sphere move up into your left knee, left thigh, left hip, and now move the sphere over into the right hip, and see it slowly move down into your right thigh. And now into your right knee. And maintain your deep, comfortable, rhythmic breathing pattern. And move the sphere down into your right calf muscle. And with each inhale, you see the white sphere grow brighter and brighter. Now down into your right ankle. And your right foot. Now see the white sphere move between your feet and then move upwards and enter through your root chakra. And now see this white sphere, now the size of a bowling ball, fill up your entire stomach in a bright white color. And with each inhale, you see it shine as brightly as you can in all directions. And maintain this visualization for a few more breaths. On the next inhale, move the white sphere up into the chest area. And now move it over to the right shoulder. The right bicep and tricep, the right elbow, and feel and see it move through your right forearm and into your wrist, and now into your hand. and see and feel your right hand in this luminous white color. You might even feel a warmth or a tingling in your physical right hand as you do this. Now see this white sphere move from your right hand to your left hand. And now it's in your left hand. Causing your entire hand to radiate in this white color. Now the sphere moves up into your left forearm, and into the elbow, into the upper arm, and left shoulder. Now it moves across into your neck, and your entire neck. See and feel it as a bright white. And now up into your head. With each inhale, see this white sphere in your head grow brighter and brighter. And maintain this visualization for a few more breaths. Begin to see and feel this white sphere move down from your head, through your neck, and back into your heart center, filling your entire chest with this white color. And now, on the next inhale, change that visualization to a pink color in your chest. Visualize it as bright as you can. This is the center of your astral body, emotional body. By focusing on the frequency of this pink color in this center, you help to calm your emotions and desires. Now, as you visualize this pink color in and around your chest, start to feel self-love. Unconditional self-love. And from this meditative state, this unconditional love flows naturally from the eternal spark of your divine soul. Feel compassion for yourself and how far you've come in this current incarnation. Now I want you to feel strength within you, warrior strength. Resolve. Confidence. Temerity. Willpower. Feel the willpower within you. Feel courage. What does courage look like to you? What does it feel like? Feel it. Visualize it. It might be helpful to visualize yourself in a situation where you are exuding bravery. Whether it's standing up for yourself, setting healthy boundaries in your life, in one of your close relationships, or mustering up the courage to walk in and ask for a raise with your boss, or mustering up the courage to go out on stage, or maybe just going on some adventure that's thrilling and scary and exhilarating. Whatever works for you, visualize this event happening with as much detail as you can. What are you thinking? Feel the strength within you. What are you seeing? What are you touching? What are you tasting? Make this visualization as multidimensional as you can. And maintain this visualization and the feeling of strength, inner strength that it brings about. Maintain this for a few more moments. Now allow the visualization to fade honor this process of strength cultivation within you. And focus again on your body, your entire body. And see your entire body glowing in an electric blue color. And this blue color is suffusing with every cell of your body, increasing its inner light.